day, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Another interview today is with Courtney Dauwalter. We talk about a host of things. I don't know that I've ever said that before. A host of things, including the recent Biggs Backyard Ultra. That's right. You saw it. You watched it. It was unbelievable. They ran forever. Let's go learn about it. Away we go. That it's easier to be the chaser than the person being chased. What is it like for you? Do you feel like
I like both. I like chasing for sure. I think that's a fun game, but I don't mind being chased. A lot of times the women's field there will still be more people to chase in front of you. So even if you're winning the women's field, you can still play the game of chasing people down by trying to catch some of the men.
Unfortunately for us.
Yeah, sorry.
I assume your pacers, or not your pacers, your crew or whatever tell you like, oh, you've got a 10-minute gap or a 20-minute gap, but it just feels like it wouldn't be too fun.
Yeah, you can get updates like that, but I never try to let that impact my race, no matter what the gap is or no matter where I am in the field. I want to leave everything out there every single time. And so I'm really racing based on an internal kind of gauge of effort and trying to make sure when I cross the finish line that there's no what ifs, there's no wondering if I could have done better or gone a little faster or whatever. It's like, no matter who's in the race or where I am in the race, I'm going to be giving it everything I have.
As a fact-based, logical thinker type person, how much do you break down the race?
After or before?
No, before, as in this pace up to this aid station, this the map does this. Like, how much of that do you do?
Not a ton of it. So I am very fact-based, but I also am not a data-driven person. So I won't have splits that I'm working for the whole race. Once the race starts, I'm going to be basing it off of that internal effort gauge and just going from that. So I won't have a set mile pace that I'm trying to hit. I won't have a set time I'm trying to get to.
Do you wear a watch at all?
I do, but mostly I just start it and then I stop it at the end. Because if every moment I'm trying to do as well as I can in that moment, then I have to trust that those moments are adding together to the best effort I could do that day. And if I'm, throwing up or if something is going wrong, I'm still going to just do that moment as well as I can. And when it's over, I'm going to take the next moment and do that as well as I can.
Well, you make it sound so simple, Courtney.
I just don't the numbers don't translate for me to being useful.
Well, I'm similar in that I honestly kind of don't want to know. I kind of it's just more fun, but it did sort of, talking about what happened to me this last race, me and my buddy ran it together and we said hey, if somebody's feeling like they want to take off, they can, but let's kind of run together. And then it was oh, if we knew that all the up was in the first part, we would have just killed it the second half, because it never came. We thought, oh, we got to save ourselves. So yeah. That part kind of was oh, there were 9 miles of fire road and we should have just booked it on the fire road because we didn't know there was 9 miles of it. We just thought it was going to end any minute. So yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So that kind of stuff, if I'm going to a course, I'll try and educate myself on, the general gist of the course and understand where maybe some of the really big climbs are, or what stretches might be really exposed and hot, so that I can be prepared for that. So I don't go into races entirely blindly. I'll look at the profile, or I'll read a few race reports if I can find them to, get a general sense of it. But after that, it's okay, now we just run, because the course isn't going to change. And what I can do on it on that day will just be what it is. But for a long race, for example, when I see my crew, they'll always give me okay, this next section is 20 miles. there's a big uphill, a big downhill, and then some flat. And they'll like just give me the general breakdown of it so I can wrap my head around just that section.
When you say you're not looking at paces, you're just looking at the eternal clock. What question are you asking yourself?
If I picture like a RPM meter or something, then I'll picture, you know, the red zone, the orange, the yellow, the green. And if I am just trying to stay in the orange, usually that's like where I want to be. So not like, you know, killing yourself where your heart feels like it's going to explode, because the races I do are so long that wouldn't be very useful. So staying out of the red zone, but like if I'm down in green or yellow, probably I could be pushing a little bit harder.
I like that. I like that visual. So it's just like, we're just going to hang out here in the orange, and we know when we're in the red or we're going too slow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's talk about bigs.
Let's do it. What do you think of that format?
Not for me.
Because of which part?
So I did Race for the Ages. Do you know that one?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I loved Race for the Ages, in that it was that was the first race that I really pushed through what you were talking about. My race report about it said that I didn't realize that all the other DNFs I had quit on before I started, or even in the race. Even when you get pulled off, like mentally somewhere, I had quit. And this was the first time I said to my wife, I'm not coming home without 100 miles. Like I'm just not, right?
Nice.
And so to get to that point of, so this is the like example I'll use, right? So mile 76 or mile 75, right? This is amazing. It was like my head, right? This is amazing. I'm at mile 75. This is great. Wait, I have 25 miles left. That's a marathon. How can I do a marathon? I'll never do a marathon. Okay, wait, where are my feet? One step, one step, one step.
Yeah.
And I had to do that for a day and a half straight. And I'd never done that. I'd always just been like, I'm never going to make it. I'm never going to make it. Okay, I'll quit. Like you eventually get to, this is stupid. Why am I doing this? I have nothing to prove. It's not fun anymore. Listen, I've used those excuses. Everybody's used those excuses. And it literally became about one foot in front of the other. And I didn't know what that meant. Now I know what it means. And that's a great thing that I can use in the future. Not, well, I just did 2 steps, so I can do 10. Nope. This one, now this one, now this one. Until that thought leaves me and I start thinking about something else, like a song or something pleasant. But then it keeps coming back over and over and over again.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, and it's a huge one. And it took me that to get, but it's like, okay, I'm cool now. I don't need to do this again for 5 years. Like that's a boring mile. That's a really boring mile. Also the fact that that's a Laz race. So we'll talk about Laz in a minute. And, you know, I put my little race report out there, and, you know, Laz wrote, looks like you found something out there on Dead Man's Mile. And it was like, that kind of made my whole race too. You know what I mean? Because like, you know, being there with Laz and his wife, and you know what I mean? It's all Sandra, it's all part of it, right? It's like my son was there with me. It was really great. So I definitely want to do ultras. I want to go longer. I want to do a 100-miler eventually. I think I really like 50K, you know, I like, it's like, I can manage that for now. And I know I want to go further, but I know that I probably can't go fast enough to last very long.
Okay.
For a day. So that's why I don't think I'd want to do it.
Okay.
But I mean, okay, let me put it this way. It's fun to watch for us at home, but my biggest beef was Sandra and whoever was doing coverage would like turn their camera on to watch you guys leave. There's nothing interesting about that. It's like, well, there they went. I'd much rather them watch you come in, like follow to your little tent, and you know, I know you guys don't want to be bothered, but your brain is mush anyway. It's not going to matter. Just show you sleeping for 2 minutes, show what food you're getting, show you taping your leg. Like I found out all about it afterwards. I would have much rather actually watched it than a thing. So anyway, I don't know. The fact that the mile loop was so boring to me, I have no idea how people do the track thing for 2 or 4 days. Like that to me is, I don't know how you guys do that. And again, I'm good with it like for a while.
That makes sense. It's those kinds of races are definitely like a different sort of mental challenge. Like a track 24-hour race, for example, is hugely mental, but it's pretty cool where your brain can go when you don't have to think about navigating at all. Just keep turning left, and you don't have to think about your footing. So you're not watching out for rocks or roots or whatever. And then suddenly your brain has like all this space where you're running, but you get to like dig into some caverns that are way back there that, you know, you don't normally go to when you're running. So it's pretty cool, but it's also, yeah, you've got to be in the right headspace to keep playing on a quarter-mile loop like that.
So for bigs, the when I talked to some of the women on the last call, they said the night loop was actually worse because it's quote unquote easier, but there's nothing to think about because it's
Yeah.
just flat. And and when you're in the trail, you go, okay, I'm navigating, and to keep your mind active on the boring part. What was it like for you?
Well, I think that road is tricky because suddenly your brain can think a lot, and so a lot of times people then start thinking about the miles that they have left that they're hoping to do, or how far away morning is, or you know, like the niggles, or you know, things that are hurting. They have more brain space to pay attention to, and so then they can, you know, blow those up and, you know, be more worried about them than out on the trail loops where they didn't have the brain space to process that. I found the road loops to be pretty fun. I had some good nights out there where I was like just in a good zone of like a robot almost, of hitting these paces along the way. Like I had this light pole where I'd check my time each lap to make sure it was good. And then the turnaround. And I would just do a quick check there, and I would be just consistently hitting the same thing without, you know, paying too much attention. And then I would come back and I would lay down, I would sleep, I would eat a couple bites of food, I would hear the 1 minute whistle, and then I would go back out there. And it was like no thinking involved in it because I had just established this routine. And so all I was doing was executing the routine every single lap without getting ahead of myself and stressing out about how many miles were left or how, you know, boring this road was. I was like comforted almost by the routine of it.
Is it a silly question to ask what's the difference between last year and this year?
So I did it 2 years ago.
Sorry, 2 years ago when you were second, but
Yeah.
second is DNF, right? I guess that's what I meant.
Yeah. I think that first year I didn't, I got ahead of myself, and I would think about, you know, how much farther I was hoping to go. And I would be overwhelmed by like 4 more hours of this until sunrise. I can't run back out to that far point at the turnaround 4 more times. Like I just like domino affected like that road and that race does to you, where you just get overwhelmed and ahead of yourself. And then I ran out of any emotional capacity or brain space or physical like will to keep going.
And could somebody have pulled you out of it if they had said the right thing, like your husband or anybody?
I think, yeah, I think I really needed to pull myself out of that, and I was lost at how to. But for sure, if someone had just forced me to try again and forced me to keep standing on that start line, maybe I would have been able to pull myself out of it. But in the moment, it felt like I felt like if I went back out for another lap, I would be roadkill and I would die out there on that road, because I just felt like my battery level was entirely depleted. But
So
who knows if that was like actually a thing, or if like I'd gotten in my own head about it and I had, you know, done the thing that the road does to people where, you know, it gets in your head and it makes you think like and be overwhelmed and snowball the
right.
whole problem into this huge
Yes.
thing. So
Sarah was literally cursing the street. She was yelling
yeah,
at it.
she yeah, I'm laughing because the memory of it is funny, not because of what she was going through, but she was, yeah, wearing her heart on her sleeve for sure. And she was struggling in that night section. She was like growling like a bear standing there. She was amazing though. It was the women we had in that field and just the US team that we had out there was all just amazing humans. And also I think they were there for, you know, that search of what's possible. And like, so as a team, we were really working together to like boost up each other's spirits, you know, cheer each other on. We were there as a group and not like an individual who was set on winning. It was like, okay, we want to do something cool out here. And to do that, we need each other. So how do we, you know, keep that momentum going forward? But we only had 4 women in the field out of 14. And when it came down to 8 people left, all 4 of those women were still in it, which was pretty cool.
How does your mind feel when it goes from 4 to 2 or 3 to 2? Like, and then it's just like, okay, well, now here we are.
It didn't change much for me because I still wanted Harvey and I, he was the other person left at the end. We still wanted to just keep helping each other to go farther. So it wasn't like switching over to then trying to, you know, mentally freak each other out or play head games with each other. It was like, hey, we're a team. We want to break that 300-mile mark. So what do you need? What do I need? Like, how can we work together to do that?
And typically it ends with somebody not coming back to the start line, but that's not what happened this time, right?
Yeah. I mean, so Harvey started the 68th loop, but I don't know how far he went out before he decided that he wasn't going to make it. And so he turned around, and when I finished, then I didn't know that he hadn't come out on the loop with me. So they were all standing there cheering, and Harvey was back there, and it was like, oh, okay. We're done now. It's a weird race in that way where the end is like, because there is no finish line, there's no like, you know, build up of excitement as it nears the end. It's like just doing the same routine every single hour and assuming that you're going to be doing it for another day, another 2 days, whatever it is.
Do you want to go back and go farther?
Of course. Yeah. That's the cool
Of course,
part
she
of this
said.
race. I mean, the race is set up in such a fun way where with no finish line, like the possibilities, it's wide open for what's possible. We don't know yet how long that could actually go. And with the rules, how they are, where after second place is done, first place does one more lap and then it's over. With those set up like they are, it requires at least 2 people to have a great day and to work together to keep pushing each other. And I think that format makes it really special.
Thank you so much for watching. In the coming days, there'll be a link below onto the podcast. That's right, a link below that will get you to the full, longer, about an hour-long conversation podcast. But if you're listening to this in the first couple days, you don't see it because it's not there. But if you're watching this in the future, it is there. How's that, right? Because that's how the internet works. All right, we've got tons of stuff going on here. We've got podcasts 3 days a week. We've got videos when we put them up. We've got a great Instagram channel. Links below. Love you. Miss you. Mean it. I've got to run.